it was so different from everything else I've ever tried, and it didn't involve drugs. It didn't. I mean, I literally have done everything. The first thing I did was hypnosis. I've gone on the
Okay.
Antax. I've done the gum. I've done everything you can imagine. And this was just a totally different approach. And I mean, I didn't join right away. I kept coming back to it. And I was getting it through my head what this was all about. And I thought, it's worth a shot. You know, it's if I invest this money in, I'm gonna do it. And it worked. Best thing I ever did.
Hi everyone, this is Nasya Davos and welcome to this episode of Ask an Ex. Every Ask an Ex episode features an inspiring ex-smoker who succeeded with the CBQ method and who shares their personal experience and unique perspective on quitting smoking. The ex I have with me today joined our CBQ program and quit smoking on November 29, 2020, and she's here to tell you how she did it. Please welcome Mary Schipper. Mary, huge congratulations on quitting smoking more than 2 years ago. How has it been this last 2 years that you are a non-smoker?
It has been freeing, quite honestly. I just realized the other day I haven't had bronchitis. I can't remember when I had it. I don't think I've had it since before I quit smoking. And I thought, oh, that's awesome. So yeah, I'm feeling healthier.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and I can't imagine what they're costing right now.
Yeah. And you used to have bronchitis a lot when you used to smoke?
Oh yeah, I get sinus infections, bronchitis. I missed a lot of work because of it. So
okay,
that is an absolute plus that I don't have that going on in my life right now. And I feel good that I don't have that stink, that smell. And sometimes I felt like I had that, I was hiding smoking, you know, especially I didn't want my grandkids to see me smoking. So I would make sure I took a shower before I went to their place, not realizing my coat smells, you know, and put on the perfume and everything else. And I almost couldn't wait until it was time for me to drive back home because then I would be smoking then. But don't have to worry about that anymore. Yeah. My daughter's happy too.
So it is really, really freeing.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I'm going to ask you about this story later, that your son, you used to smoke together, and you were worried about being around smokers, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So what happened? Yeah.
What happened being around him when he smoked? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, or being around the smokers. Was that a valid fear? Did it bother you?
Okay, no, it didn't. Not after I quit smoking, it didn't. It's like, it was just out of my head. I didn't care. I actually avoided smokers for a while, but I couldn't avoid my son. He was the only one. And I honestly think he tried to smoke less. He would go outside but he totally forgot about it when we were going to my daughter's for Christmas one time. Or the first time. It was like not even a month after I quit. And I was afraid he was going to do that. I thought, oh man, I'm going to blow it. He's smoking in the car with me. I'm going to want to bum one off him. stuff like that. Because he was my go-to person if I would say, hey, can I just finish that cigarette of yours? And he'd hand it over, Well, He lit up. I didn't say anything. It was his car. And the only thing I did ask him, I said, did you roll your window down? So, and I was surprised. I was very surprised that it didn't bother me. I was more worried about it than I needed to be. So that was a good thing.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. Yes. So nothing to be afraid of after all.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, how did you start smoking? How much did you smoke? For how long? What is your story up to this point of quitting?
Quite honestly, I started smoking when I was 13. That was mainly on weekends, or if I wasn't home at night, then I was smoking. I don't know how much, but over the years, especially after I graduated from high school early, so I was 17, and I was on my own, and that's when I started smoking more. And it seemed like my jobs, if I was stressed, I'd need a cigarette. There was a point that I was smoking 2.5 packs a day. And before I quit, I was smoking 2 packs a day. Yeah. And I had, mind you, throughout the years, I had quit. I quit when I had my kids for 20 years. But if I needed to.
20 years?
If I needed to, I would bum a cigarette off of someone. And
I see. That's why you're saying you quit.
Yeah. I was cheating every once in a while. Just because in my head, I thought, okay, if I just have one, I'm good. That worked for 20 years. And then my marriage was not good at all. And I was going through a divorce. I was just so stressed out. I started smoking, and I got up, and I was having problems at my job. And so, yeah, actually what happened, I said to a gal at work, I said, can I bum a cigarette from you? Well, I'm not going to let you have a cigarette. You start smoking. I said, if I don't have it, I had 3 gals that would not let me have a cigarette. And I said, if I'm still in this mood at lunchtime, I'm buying a pack, and it's on you. But unfortunately, I did buy that pack, and there I went. And my daughter was so disappointed. By this time, I knew my son was smoking, so I
see.
Yeah, I just smoked a lot. Yeah.
And that's a very unique story, right? Because you did quit for 20 years, but not really, because a part of your mind was always on having a cigarette, that it would help. So what is different now? What's different this time?
Well, anytime I tried to quit before, I always had that craving. I walked past somebody, and I was just like, I want a cigarette. I could smell, I smelled they were having a cigarette, and I thought, oh, I could handle a cigarette, social situations, just different times. That craving was there, especially if I was with a friend. The last time I had quit for a year, and the last time, I was dating a guy who smoked, and I had a really, really bad day, and I just said to him, "Can I borrow a cigarette?" And then it was 2, and the next day I bought a pack. And that's when it was after that I came to you. I stumbled across this program, you know, and
really,
yes, I don't know. I saw an ad online or something, and I wanted to quit, but I didn't know how, because every time I did, I always had that craving. And so I just read through it, and that's a lot of money for me. But I thought, if I actually quit smoking, it's going to pay for itself tenfold. And plus you have the guarantee. And I thought, I'm going for it. I'm going for it. And I think I just really had it in my head. I need to quit smoking. And actually one of the exercises I did, I cried when I did it, because it was my daughter. You had to list, you had to list 20 reasons why I should quit smoking. I'm not sure what the question was, but the first thing that came to my mind was my daughter saying, "Mom, I want you to be around when my kids grow up." And see, my dad died at a young age.
Yeah.
He was a heavy smoker. Yeah. He died when he was 65, and I'm 58. So yeah, that's what's different now. I don't have the cravings. I don't stink. I couldn't stand the smell of myself, or I couldn't stand the smell of the smoke on other people. And yeah, I even, when Kyle came that at Christmas, he went out for a smoke, and he came back in, and I was like, "Oof." I said to Nicole, I said, "Did I smell that bad?" And she goes, "Yeah." And oh man, I'm glad I was. So then I went home and I made sure I washed every coat in my closet, because I knew I hadn't, because it had only been like a month since I quit, or not quite a month. So
yeah.
So I don't have that problem either.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's fantastic. So in the past, even when you quit for these 20 years, you always had that craving. But now you don't? No cravings? No desire?
Not at all. It shocked me. I'm amazed. Yeah, I am amazed. This is the best thing that I could have ever done. And I'm so thankful that I found this program. So I was on the internet at the right time that night.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was very late at night, and I was literally outside smoking, on my phone, scrolling through stuff. And there it was, and I'm thinking, oh.
And
yeah. That made me happy.
So what made you? Yeah. It was perfect timing and the right approach for you, and you had amazing results, and you haven't had a craving, and you are free, which I'm so happy for you. And it's been 2 years, so huge congratulations, Mary.
And you know what? I had a sister. I was telling her about this program, and I was all excited, and she said, "I'll believe it when I see it." Well, because I had quit so many times. She says, "I'll believe it when I see it." So every time I hit a little milestone, I would call her, "Hey, it's 1 month today." Even as I got into 6 months, 9 months, a year and a half, I would call her. It's my anniversary.
Good.
So, yeah. I had something to prove.
And she's
to
happy for you, of course.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I love is that you are feeling great. You are really free. You're not smoking, but your mind, you're thinking a cigarette would help. You're really over it. And that's fantastic. And it's because you did all this work and followed all the steps and really, really put your heart and your time into the program.
Right. And I know there's so many people that are afraid of gaining weight. Well, what I did was I gave myself a year, and I did gain weight, but I figured if I could quit smoking, I could lose weight. And so as of February 2022, this year, I've lost 60 pounds. I needed to lose it. And
wow.
Yeah. I mean,
congratulations.
You just have to retrain your brain. That's what I told everybody. With this program, you're retraining your thinking, you're retraining your brain. And I did the same. I used that same concepts to my losing weight because I'm diabetic. So I needed to lose that weight. Besides, I didn't feel good when I was big. So
yes,
that's my story, and I'm sticking
to how do you feel now?
I feel
that
awesome.
Is an amazing story. How are you feeling now?
I feel awesome. Just my granddaughter says, "Nanny, you're getting so skinny." She says, "You look pretty."
Oh,
my grandkids and
you feel good as well.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
and I got rid of a whole closet worth of clothes, and I got a new wardrobe, and I'm not smoking, and I'm losing weight. I'm feeling good about myself. My self-esteem was kind of down too.
Yes.
Yeah. And one other thing I always did, and I know I have no reason to anymore. I was planning on when I could get that next cigarette in. And I know it sounds, some people think it's, especially if they're haven't smoked before. I mean, at my job, I'd look at my watch. Okay, I have this amount of time before I could get on break. And you know what? I crammed 2 cigarettes in because I knew it was going to be a while before I was going on break again. And that was almost stressful in itself. Yes. So that stress has been lifted away from me too. Just so many good things about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I can't say good enough stuff about this program, honestly. And if you need support, bring something up in the group. The group support was amazing during my journey. And I think I even may have emailed somebody at one point, customer service, maybe. I'm not sure who it was, but I know I emailed someone.
We have a great
team.
Yeah.
So make use of your support.
Yeah. Yes, that's great advice. And because there is great support, there is on the private Facebook group that's just for this program. There are amazing members, amazing people. The email team is great. So that's great advice. Ask for help. Reach out. You are not alone.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that. And Mary, when that night that you saw that ad while you were outside smoking, what made you think that, oh, this could work for me, or this could be right for me? What attracted you to check out the CBQ method?
Because it was so
If you can
different from
remember.
everything. It was so different from everything else I've ever tried. And it didn't involve drugs. It didn't, I mean, I literally have done everything. The first thing I did was hypnosis. I've gone on the
Okay.
Antax. I've done the gum. I've done everything you can imagine. And this was just a totally different approach. And I mean, I didn't join right away. I kept coming back to it. And I was getting it through my head what this was all about. And I thought, it's worth a shot. You know, it's, if I invest this money in, I'm going to do it. And it worked. Best thing I ever did. So that's
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah. If someone would have told me that it would have been, I'm going to say easy, because to me it was easy compared to all the other times I tried to quit smoking and I didn't stay at it. So yeah, for me it just felt easy.
That's the goal. That's the goal, of course.
Yep.
And Mary, what, if you can remember, what was your biggest aha moment throughout your quit smoking journey?
My biggest aha moment. I guess it's just when I realized, you know, I was talking about watching the clock to see when I could go back out for a cigarette. And I even did that here when I was at home, because I didn't want to be a chain smoker. But when I go out, sometimes I'd have 2 or 3. But I always wanted to wait 2 hours between. And while I was going through this process, I think it got to be around lunchtime or so, and I thought, oh, I didn't even think about having a cigarette today. you know, looking at my clock and thinking, oh, I would be going, because I did do that. Oh, I would be going out for a cigarette about now. And then I just totally forgot about it, you know. And I think that was a big thing for me, is I wasn't even thinking about it anymore. And now, quite honestly, I forget that I was a smoker sometimes. And
amazing.
Yeah, it is.
And over the last 2 years, how has your you told me you're healthier, you haven't had bronchitis for all this time, you smell better, you've saved a lot. How has your mental health improved? Like, how are you feeling mentally, your stress? You also mentioned that you don't have any more the stress of planning your day around smoking. Any other improvements you've experienced over the last 2 years?
Well, I don't have family members nagging at me anymore to quit smoking, which I don't know if everybody else has that, but I sure did. It was terrible. And so, yeah, I didn't smoke around them, but I know I smelled like it. My daughter wouldn't give me hugs as much as she does now because I smelled. And I kind of felt bad because the kids would leave. My son would give me a hug. My daughter would say, bye, I love you, walk out the door. And it's just that it hurt my heart, you know. And so, and I might get teary-eyed talking about it, but that's one thing that has changed. It's not necessarily in my mind. Maybe it is, but I'm glad things are different.
Yeah, and so you feel more connected as well.
Yep.
Because it's obvious that family is very important to you.
Yeah. And my son, he said to me, he says, "Mom, I didn't think you could do it." I am with him a lot. I like to go out and go fishing with him and stuff like that. And he asked me a few times, "Is it okay if I smoke?" I said, "We're outside. I don't care." I said, "You just can't smoke in my car or in my house." And he was good with that because I never allowed him to smoke in the house anyway.
And Mary, what did quitting smoking teach you?
For one thing, it taught me that if I really put my mind to it, I can do it. I just have to how do I want to put it? Make myself get through the steps. If I can just get through it, it'll happen. Mm-hmm. And make the time. That was probably the hardest thing that for me was, okay, when's a good time for me to watch this video or to do these exercises, things like that. I just made the time, you know. Does that answer your question? I lost track of what I was talking about. Sorry.
That's fine, but you said something very important. So, what did quitting smoking teach you? That if you put your mind to it, you can do it, and that's great. And you also said something else that's very important, that you made the time for it. You committed to the process. You said, "I am going to do the steps," and you made time for it. Because you are right. This is the hard part, prioritizing this. So, and I think many people can relate to what you're saying. So how did you plan it so that you will make time to go through this process to the best of your ability?
Well, quite honestly, my thoughts were, I made the time every 2 hours to have at least 10 to 15 minutes to smoke my 2 cigarettes. And if I can do that, I can find time. And I always did it in the evening when I was relaxed and not rushed. And sometimes I would after I went through the video, I would look at it again because I may have missed something, but the evenings were best for me. Of course, I don't have anybody at home anymore either, but to try to do it in the morning before going to work or when you're rushed anyway, it just didn't work for me. So after I was home, relaxed, after dinner, that's usually when I did it. When I was going to go out and have a smoke, I would do this instead.
Great. Yeah, you found the right time for you.
Yeah.
And I like what you said, that you were like, if I have time to smoke, I have time to do this. And give it my best. So this is great. Great advice. Yeah.
Yes.
And did you, I don't remember, did you repeat any days? Did you extend, did you take longer to finish the program? Did you revise things? How was your process?
Quite honestly, I quit smoking. I had my last cigarette. It was either 2 or 3 days before my final video. Just because it
wow.
It didn't taste good anymore. I had been tapering myself off, and I did buy extra cigarettes so that they were there. So what I was doing was smoking a half a cigarette. I was tapering down that way, but I had probably 7 left in the pack and 3 days to go yet. And I thought, I'm not doing this. I literally broke them and threw them away. And
impressive. So
yeah.
So you went from smoking 2 packs a day to just not wanting to smoke anymore, and even quitting smoking before the designated quit date, and having cigarettes extra, and you threw them. This is a huge, amazing transformation, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is. I think I surprised myself. But yeah, my son says, "Why did
it's
you
great
stay
when this
me?"
happens.
My son and I smoke the same brand, and he says, "Where'd you break them for? You could have given them to me." I said, "I didn't even want them in the house anymore." I says, "I just broke them up, took out the trash, and I was good ever since then."
Wow,
I made sure
that's
as,
great. I love that.
As I was going through this process, I was getting rid of ashtrays. I was down to the point where I had a can outside that when I was done, I was just going to throw them away, and cleaned out my car so it wouldn't smell. It was like I was prepping myself for the final day. And I think I was just anxious to quit.
Very important.
Yeah, that they just tasted gross. I mean, one time I was literally like, I won't go into that. I felt like I was gagging and I had a stomachache. I put the cigarette out. So just, there's a lot of things that you can do for yourself to help this along and to make it easier on yourself. And
yes,
you need to plan. When you decide you're going to do this, you need to plan.
I love that. And Mary, what advice would you give to someone who, like you, has tried everything in their past attempts? They always had this craving, this wanting for a cigarette, and they may not believe that this will work for them. What would be your advice?
You have to try it. You have to try this program. You still have that great guarantee, right? You're not out anything.
Of course.
And you can do it. You put your mind to it, you can do it. And that's a lot of it. Well, my friends are smoking. When we go out to drink or socially, it's going to bother me. It didn't bother me. Yeah. It never bothered me. But I think I'm probably an exception. I think there's people out there that it does bother. You may have to, for a few times, just not go there. Try to avoid it a little bit. But the main thing is try. Get it in your head. I want to stop smoking. And don't buy the extra cigarettes. And plan ahead. And you can do it. Believe in yourself.
Great.
Believe in yourself.
Yeah, very important.
Yes. Because you're going to feel so much better.
Yes. Many. That's great advice, because if we don't believe it, how can we achieve it? So yes, believe in yourself and plan and do all the steps. And Mary, I have to say, you said you're 56, right? But you look
I'm 58.
great.
I quit at 56. I'm 58 now.
50. And you are at an amazing weight that you wanted. You are smoke free. You're healthy. You're having your grandbabies. You're at a great shape in your life, and that's really inspiring to see. I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah, I'm happy with the way things are now. There were times that I wasn't happy, and I think smoking was part of that. And now that I'm not smoking,
why do you think that
smoking was part of that? I think it's because fewer and fewer people were smoking because, well, you can't smoke here, you can't smoke there. You go out, you have to go outside, and I don't know about you, but I live where it's really cold right now and snow, and just the whole
inconvenience,
the whole thing surrounding. I was sick. I was sick so much. I was missing work, and quite honestly, I lost a job because of it. Not because of smoking, but because I was getting sick so much.
You were sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Things are just better.
Happier now.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that. Really happy for you. And Mary, thank you so much for sharing your very interesting quit smoking journey. Very unique, very interesting. I am sure that your experience will help and inspire many others who want to stop smoking easily and remain smoke free and have no cravings. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure. And nice to meet you.
Amazing. Same. And for everyone who was watching this video, leave a comment below and let Mary and I know what you're taking away from her journey that can help you in yours. We're looking forward to reading your comments. Thank you for being here. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.